Who had the best footwork in boxing history? Welcome to Footwork Fight Talk, where we're going to discuss the sport of boxing, the strategy, and some of the intangibles that it takes to make these fighters great. So what I'm going to talk about right now is some of the angles that I enjoy about the sport of boxing. And that is the title of this network, this channel, Footwork. Footwork is important because it gives a fighter angles on his opponent. It's the first line of defense, and you have to be in excellent shape to execute great and well-taught footwork. So it's very important. It's very important for a guy to put himself in position to be able to go out here and make his opponent miss while at the same time making them pay for every shot that they miss. So with that in mind, I'm just going to throw out some names, and regardless of what kind of controversy it might create, this is what my thoughts are. Roy Jones. I think Roy Jones' footwork was underrated throughout his career. He was so fast with his hands, and his punches were so hard that a lot of his footwork could be overlooked. But next time you try to look at those old tapes, look down at the feet. Look how he's able to dart in and dart out before his opponent could return fire. He could jab, move out, and be gone by the time the guy even knew what hit him. So I put Roy Jones in there. Some of his highlight reel knockouts were based on the fact that he was well positioned with his footwork. He was able to get into range, into that mid-range where he could strike and then get off to an angle or get off to the side and keep his guy hurt once he tagged him. So Roy Jones is one of my favorites. And then, of course, you have the great Muhammad Ali. I think this really goes without explanation, but we're going to do it anyway. So Ali's gift was that he was able to move in the beginning of a fight, especially with heavyweights of his day, that would wear these guys out from start to finish. And so he used his movement early on to kind of relax himself, to start to get into his rhythm of boxing and start to set his opponent up for what was to come later, which was, of course, is going to be that jab, that in and out movement, and then the continuous lateral movement throughout the fight until he gets the guy settled into the mid-rounds, and that's when he started to kind of plant his feet and pick his opponent apart. But it all begins with his footwork and him circling the ring. And the amazing thing about it was no one was able to come up with a good counter for it. These guys, they would come in and they would pretty much do the same thing. They would either sit back and let Ali just move around them, or they would try to rush in from time to time. But for the first 3-4 rounds of a fight, he was in total control and domination because he could just slide in and slide out on his toes whenever he felt like it. So I could easily place him as number one, but he's going to be number two because number one, I'm putting Floyd Mayweather Jr. And I know that there's probably lots of people I can put on this particular list, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So, Floyd, what made his footwork brilliant was because he did just enough to keep his opponent off balance. He did just enough to find his angles and be able to find the target on his opponent's body. So what was important about him is that early in his career, he was fleet-footed. Not that he did a lot of excessive movement, but he was able to move in and out so quickly, and his talent was levels above his opponent, that he really made it look easy. He made it look like he was in another gear compared to the guys that he was facing at those lighter weights back when he was Pretty Boy. So I think he had probably twice as much talent as anybody that he faced. And a lot of that was based on his footwork. He was very accurate already. Of course, his endurance was off the chart. He worked extremely hard, but he got the most out of his talent. But he was one of the most intelligent fighters that ever stepped to the ring. And he's probably not my all-time favorite when it comes to politics, but we're not talking about what's outside the ring. Inside the ring, this guy was brilliant. And he was able to move in and out. But just as important as that, he was able to make an adjustment as he went up in weight and he got later into his career. And he also mentioned that, his body started to break down about midway through his career with all of the hard training and everything that he was doing over all those years, coming up through the amateurs, the Olympics, and early in his pro career. So with all of that in mind, he started to have to make some adjustments. And I think that's when his foot movement became more strategic. And he was able to place his feet in such positions where he didn't have to move as much as he did early in his career, but he was always able to keep himself in perfect position to, again, land his shots and be out of the way with just an inch or two to spare from getting hit. So I could go on about this, but I wanted to put these thoughts out there so that the people who are out there that you are watching boxing, and I want you to be able to see it from a slightly different angle. And that angle is from the footwork and the opportunities that the footwork that a fighter has, how that creates opportunities for him or her to score in a fight. All right, so that's it for tonight. We'll be back. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Fight Talk, and we out.